first, and which is the short story that we're going to be reading in public. Charlie Robinson has signed on to do Mask of the Red Death, which is the one that we're reading in public. So I got to let you know when we're going to do that. I think it's going to be October 14th. Mask of the Red Death. We'll do October 14th together. But I'm going to provide you with all of the links to where to read it, so you don't have to go out there and buy a short story. I'm going to give you the links to all of that, and I'm also going to put the link inside of the official thread. So it's going to be all in one place. It's going to be very easy. I'm excited for this one. I hope you are too. Okay, let's get into the grab bag, shall we? First one up is from Oddity Central. Listen to this, ladies and gents. We've got a doozy here. We've got a fake doctor that performs a very delicate procedure, very delicate kind of procedure, for over 20 years before finally getting arrested. What was he doing? We have a 36-year-old Thai man who admitted to having only a grade 9 education, and he's been arrested for performing penile enlargement procedures for 2 decades without a medical license. Kittikorn Songskri, a 36-year-old man from the city of Samut Sakhon in central Thailand, was arrested last week following a sting operation at a townhouse where he had been conducting various penile enlargement procedures over the last 2 decades. Songskri admitted to advertising his services via social media and operating on at least 2 or 3 patients every month, despite having no medical training or license. He told police that he had taught himself how to do implants when he was 14, and he had been doing it ever since. Unfortunately, he was reported to the authorities by a disgruntled patient who suffered a serious infection following a silicone infection. I have to imagine that last infection was meant to be injection. So this guy's been injecting silicone into people's wee-wees for 20 years. Police working with officials in the Department of Health arranged for an undercover agent to contact the unlicensed doctor and pose as a prospective client. When he was invited to Songskri's townhouse for the procedure, a team of officers raided the place and arrested the fake doctor. He admitted to only completing Mathiom Suksa's 3. Oh, that's okay. It's grade 9 over there. Mathiom Suksa 3. That's grade 9 for us. Adding that he had taught himself how to conduct the delicate procedure when he was a teenager. During questioning, Kittikorn Songskri told investigators that he had provided the services for the last 20 years, and he was currently charging between $5,000, that's $150, 5,000 baht, and 20,000 baht, which is $600 per procedure. Wow. It almost sounds legitimate if it was 5,000 American dollars. But the fact that you can go to Thailand and pay $150 for, oh no. He's been charged with running an unauthorized medical clinic and providing medical services without a license. Thankfully, this fiend has been put out of business. On the mental incapacitation side of things, which is leftist media, you had really disabled people like Brooklyn Dad took a clip from Donald Trump at his latest rally saying, where's Johnny Carson? We need to have Johnny Carson back. And they're actually saying, oh my gosh, the dementia is just getting worse. Johnny Carson's been dead for 19 years. As if he's not just speaking like I mean, I don't, but this is what we're dealing with now. This is the level of pettiness. Can you imagine being like that? Every day you have to be that obtuse to play this role. And I've seen some of them do this. They call it sane washing. You know, you can whitewash something. Well, if you correct them for them if you righteously correct somebody who is going out of their way to make a big deal out of nothing and to turn something into what it is, and they want to make the person that they're attacking through their imaginary situation seem insane, and you say, oh no, actually, here, listen to this. Here's Donald Trump last night. Tell me that everybody in this audience doesn't know exactly. It's just so stupid.
You remember that guy When I first ran, it was like 2015, thinking about running. I was going to run. I went on his show, right? And he goes, The Tonight Show, which is dying. They're all dying. Where's Johnny Carson? Bring back Johnny. It made you appreciate, right, Uncle Sam? It made you appreciate the greatness of Johnny Carson and these guys. These three guys, they're so bad, all three of them.
They're trying to say, for today, they just needed something to say, that he doesn't know Johnny Carson's been dead for 2 decades. Because just a couple of months ago, these were the people who were defending Joe Biden for literally saying that he spoke to dead people just recently. I mean, you remember that? The press conferences? Why did Joe Biden say that he saw so-and-so or credited so-and-so? They've been dead for a while. And they have to run cover. They're just trying out this whole, listen, we don't have to defend Joe Biden thing anymore. Let's call everybody demented now. It's our turn to call everybody demented. It's so strange. These creatures that we have to live around are so fucking weird. They're weird. They really are. They're just strange creatures. They're not human. They're something else. Here's another one for you. Father of the Year, another one from Oddity Central. Man incites 14-year-old son to commit robberies and then claims it was the teen's idea. An Austrian man who incited his 14-year-old son and his best friend to commit a series of armed robberies tried to pin the blame on the two teens in court after they were caught. A 34-year-old man recently shocked the judge and jury in courtroom number 1 of Vienna Regional Court after putting the blame on his 14-year-old son and his 17-year-old best friend for a series of robberies, claiming that they were the mastermind of the crimes and he was only the getaway driver. What's the guy's name? I bet they're not going to tell us. Anyway, so there you go. What would you do? Would you blame it on your son after all that all said and done, or would you say, you know what, this is my idea? This is my idea. Oh, and here you go. Here's the other thing I wanted to bring up, which we'll talk a little bit more about tomorrow when Alan Weiner is on to talk about shortwave radio, because this is pretty important. Very, very important stuff. Here you go. Listen to this from the New York Post. Democrat majority FCC helping George Soros fast-track takeover of nationwide radio network. This is scary. Left-leaning billionaire George Soros is trying to recruit the Democrat-controlled Federal Communications Commission to help fast-track his takeover of the nation's second-largest radio network. Soros, 93 years old, pumped $400 million into Odyssey in February, a network which reaches 165 million monthly listeners and includes a handful of conservative shows from hosts including Sean Hannity, Dana Loesch, Mark Levin, Glenn Beck, and Eric Erickson. But their influence is likely to be muted if the billionaire takes over and imposes his agenda, as has happened with other media acquisitions. A source with knowledge of the deal told the Post the idea that George Soros is buying hundreds of local radio stations right before a national election and will keep broadcasting Sean Hannity and other conservative talk radio hosts on Odyssey is just not credible. However, to take control, Soros fund management needs the help from the FCC, as the money funneled into buying the bankrupt network comes from abroad. Under existing FCC rules, foreign company ownership of the U.S. radio stations is not allowed to exceed 25%, but a filing acquired by the Post details George Soros is asking the commission to make an exception. For old time's sake. I'll have to bring this up again tomorrow because we'll have a radio conversation tomorrow night, but like I said, I've seen many people say, okay, so what? Let him waste his money on radio. First of all, you just saw the imprint of that. Odyssey. You're talking about big stations like in New York, especially WFAN. We're talking about big sports stations. It's everything. There's a lot of ears there. This is for advertising purposes. This is for anything else that's injected into it. Just because it's sports doesn't mean that they don't inject any kind of agendas into things. You saw what happened to ESPN. It's all over the place, man. It's not wasted money. This is a highly valuable, durable technology that is still very relevant and very, very useful, even though the business model is old. Okay, and this digital veneer that we were having a lot of success in, and a lot of it's very, I don't know, it's versatile. It's here. It's available. It allows little people to build large audiences, but it's also very flimsy. Very flimsy, very easy to manipulate without detection. Echo chambers, everything else, the airways is something completely different. Okay? This is a very flimsy digital veneer in which we all conduct business. And it, if that's compromised or blacked out, this is all that's left. Radio will stick around, and it's a wonderful technology. And the fact that the second largest network is being bought by this bloodsucker, I think that's a pretty big headline. Okay, that's it. All right. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get this one kicked off. I have a little bit of table setting to do before Jason Bermas arrives. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's
Quite frankly, it's Tuesday night, 7:17 p.m., and this is The Real Show. And I want to throw some things out there for you all. First one is this, and they all kind of go together. They all really go together. Now, today, I don't know if you had seen it. A lot of people getting upset because Donald Trump, on some kind of a campaign stop, was filmed paying for somebody's groceries at a grocery store or something like that. Gave somebody a little bit of cash, and this woman paid for her groceries or something. They wanted a lot of the squeakiest wheels out there wanted him charged for bribery. He's buying votes. This is a FEC violation. This is a federal crime. It happens. It happens out there. People are saying it. Now, I don't know what's going on with them, but these are the people, remember, who promised stimulus checks as a means to help secure by the Georgia Senate runoff election in 2021. Anyway, while the bane of our collective existence whines about how Trump is buying somebody a stalk of celery, is election meddling, this happened. This happened right here. Let's see here. Zelensky stumps for Harris on taxpayer dime. During his first day in a busy week traveling in the U.S., Ukraine President Zelensky was in Pennsylvania on Sunday. He was flown there on a U.S. Air Force C-17. The unusual arrangement is, of course, courtesy of the American taxpayers, and it looks like the Pentagon and Secret Service are sparing no expense. Policy consultant Dan Caldwell has pointed out that at the moment that Zelensky has attacked Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, in the pages of The New Yorker that, quote, the Biden-Harris administration is using now military assets to fly a foreign leader into a battleground state in order to undermine their political opponents. Absolutely. Came into Pennsylvania and going to a munitions factory, essentially. And you have to see this. This scandal, which is the mainstream media is dutifully ignoring. Joe Lonsdale, Palantir co-founder and 8VC founding partner, has commented that this is a big, big deal. Team Kamala is so concerned about Pennsylvania that they're using military assets to fly in Zelensky to campaign. The blatant conflict of interest is out in the open. They're implying their war creates jobs and forcing Z to attack Trump and Vance. Lonsdale continues, literally funding a foreign leader and using the military to bring him to campaign with them in a battleground state. You might have seen it. Here they are. This is Governor Josh Shapiro, tweeted this out yesterday. We must all do our part in the fight for freedom. From the workers of Scranton who make Pennsylvania the arsenal of democracy to the brave Ukrainian soldiers protecting their country, if they're even Ukrainian anymore. They've been all killed off. I don't even know who's fighting out there. Here he is, Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, signing bombs with a Sharpie marker. They are signing bombs. I mean, listen, We couldn't do all this yesterday. But it is so outrageous. It's so outrageous. A lot of people upset because Donald Trump was filming, paid for somebody's groceries. And this is going on. I just can't believe it. Dark times indeed, man. You got this drug addict from Ukraine over here in the United States again, shaking his tin cup for donations again and bombs. He goes to a so-called battleground state to stump for Harris, Biden, Obama, on a war platform. I mean, he's there on a war platform. It's just so incredible to me. So he goes to Pennsylvania on a war footing to stump for Kamala Harris and sign bombs in Pennsylvania to put his and they commemorate their tour. That's how they commemorate their tour of this munitions factory in Pennsylvania, as if this was going to be some kind of an iconic image. And again, you know what? Whatever it's worth, thank God for Vladimir Putin's patience, because if he was as unhinged as they tell us he was, and terminally ill, by the way, how many terminal illnesses does he have? 18? Europe would be burnt to a crisp a long time ago. You have American governors signing bombs that will be fired at Russians in a war that we have controlled from the start. And holy shit. Anyway, welcome. I want to welcome a friend back to the show. I haven't seen him in a while. Jason Bermas is a talk show host with Patriot TV, TNT Radio, documentary filmmaker and creator of classic documentaries such as Invisible Empire, Fabled Enemies, Loose Change, and Shade. He's here tonight to talk about the latest of the technocratic nightmares and dreamscapes that are being put forth by the United Nations. What's going on, Jason? How you been?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Oh,
it's been a while.
I know. I'm doing all right. It has been a while. How's life? How's 2024?
More of the same, really, for Jason Bermas. I'll just be really honest. You said TNT. They went under last week. Today's News Talk. They've been around for about almost 3 years, and that should just tell people how tough it is in this independent media space. Last year in November, RVM, although they're still around, they had to fire pretty much all their staff. BitChute last month had to fire all of their staff. InfoWars, we will see what happens now that the DOJ has stepped in, but it is being reported as of today that the initial auction will take place in mid-November, and then the assets, in other words, the physical assets of the office, will be auctioned off on December 10th. So the InfoWars copyright, the website, whether or not Alex Jones is going to be doing a show through Infowars.com, we're going to find out.
Wow.
In about 6 weeks. I did host the second hour of the Sunday Alex Jones show, and I will be hosting tomorrow's fourth hour of the Alex Jones show as well. So keeping busy. I've been really just blessed, man. I'll be honest, even with Patriot.tv, we're at a rough note. I really hope that we survive all of this. People really have to understand that when you're doing true independent media in a sphere or a group through a network, and it's truly independent, it is extremely difficult. I mean, kudos to you for doing your own thing, because you know the deal. You're dependent on you and your work ethic, right? Mm-hmm. And for years, that's what I've been doing, right? And I find it a blessing whenever anybody wants to pay me and give me an opportunity. But really, let's go through it, because if you look at the attack on the independent media, and I know we're going to be talking about the Summit of the Future, but really the Summit of the Future, even in the independent media, didn't get anywhere near as much coverage as it should have. Say as the Pandemic Preparedness Treaty, this was just as important, if not more important, and in lines with all those 2030. In fact, in their own documents, in lines with the 2030 goals. In fact, there's a section in it, and I should bring it up for the audience even before we get there. Start it up. Let's have some fun. So let's go articles bare so everybody can see it. So this is the PDF that they put forward. And just to give you an example of the types of things on here, let's just read this. Action 12. We will plan for the future and strengthen our collective efforts to turbocharge the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development by 2030 and beyond. Bold words, my friend. Bold words indeed.
Did they go into what constitutes as a turbocharging? I mean, that's just incredible.
I mean, that's the thing. That's what's so terrible about this, right? Everybody's so hung up on the WEF and all those type of things, right? Frank, there's so much more to this. Like, for instance, under this thing, it is not only the physical planet that we're on, they actually encompass space. You know that I am big on that. In fact, when I did Sunday, I was talking about Polaris Dawn, SpaceX, what's really going on up there right now. If you missed that story, another huge story. And even, of course, the metaverse, online, the virtual universe. It's all of it. This is all of it. When they say turbocharge, they mean take total and complete authoritarian control over everything. Tony Blinken was... Now, this, just so everybody knows, they signed on to this, okay? Now, Frank, not only did they sign on to it, but, man, how do I put this? This was just before the UN Assembly. So really, I've often talked about how, everybody knows Joe Biden's not running anything, right? And the vast majority of this administration is completely inept. You know who's not inept? The guy that they sent here to do that. And that would be, let's see, where's there? This one right here. Tony Blinken. So Tony Blinken was the guy who gave his 5-minute speech. Now, I would encourage everybody just to watch the 5-minute speech because it basically outlines it all. Climate crisis agenda, little Susie Q's got to feel safe online and offline. Just every talking point that you could imagine under this, and cybersecurity as well. So, for me, this, man, is just as important, if not more important, than this pandemic preparedness. Because, listen, they did all the bravado. Everybody signs on to it. Joe Biden spoke at the UN at the Assembly today for the last time as well. So, look, these people are pushing forward. And that's why, like, let's say we get Trump in there. And you got to get voted in, you got to get sworn in, and then you got to start making moves. He's got to get rid of the UN. U.S. out of the UN, and the United Nations out of the United States, period.
Yep.
Delegitimize them on day one.
Yep.
Because they are an overall vehicle for this agenda. And, going back to independent media really quickly, if people don't understand that this was now that the DOJ has openly stepped into the Alex Jones case, okay? Think what you want about Alex Jones and Sandy Hook and whatever. If that were real defamation lawsuits and they wanted to just have him pay money, it would have been a lot less money. They wouldn't have defaulted him. It wouldn't have gone to every single person. It would have gone to those that he named. And in all truth, you probably would have seen tens of millions of dollars, tops 100 million across all of it. I think that would have been egregious, but that's if it had any legitimacy. This was always from day one to shut him down. Now, they tried to lock him out of the office. All that really came out. All of that was real. Now, think about the timing on that. That happens 1-2 weeks before they put Bannon in prison. Again, love Steve Bannon, hate Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon does have an actual alternative platform that people turn into. Frank, who else does? Serious, let's talk about it. Who else has a real alternative platform? The Blaze? Glenn Beck would be all right. I mean, listen, he just had Jones on. He's had Whitney Webb on. I like Alex Stein at times. That's great, but really that's more than InfoWars light, okay? Daily Wire, now we're taking it down another level. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's even gotten down to other more even startup levels, like what happened with Tenant Media a couple of weeks ago, and how there's no real big bombshell there. It was a little bit of fodder for the news, but also that was almost like a blanket smear against anybody who gets their news from anywhere, outside of the corporate networks. That was just.
Frank, let me just say who they targeted. Look at it. They targeted people that still had a social media following that were outside of those venues that I just mentioned, right?
Yep.
Tim Pool has his own thing. Benny Johnson, Rubin, they all have their own thing. And $10 million is a flash in the pan when you're not only talking about geopolitics and campaigns, but in mainstream media in general. And quite frankly, the kind of numbers that Tim Pool does compared to the mainstream media, if Tim Pool, with the numbers he gets online, were with an NBC or a Fox News, his salary, okay, baseline, would be between $20 and $30 million a year. Now, Tim might actually be making that much money, but that also shows you that they would easily just pay him that on an annual salary. The other thing is with the Tenet media scandal, if the Department of Justice had anything on these guys colluding with a message, it would have been in the forefront. Yeah. Obviously, this was a type of operation, a smaller one. And that's not to give a pass to RT either. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a good chance, that this was RT, Russia Today, trying to get some more influence in the United States after they had been banned during COVID 1984. Many years ago, Frank, 2010, right when Abby Martin had started the Empire Files. I went there and I interviewed to be her producer in D.C. When they were just right in that row where all the media hangs out and all that. Watched them shooting it, all of it. They hated me. I'll be honest, that was not liked in that room. They didn't want to hear about 9/11 truth at the time. They didn't want to hear about vaccinations at the time. And to many people's surprise, I'm sure, they didn't want to hear about the legalization of marijuana at the time. Really, 3 out of the first 5 things I pitched to them, they were just like, we're not doing that. And I was persona non grata. So even an outlet like that, and I get it, much more alternative than that. They've been gone several years. And let's not forget, when they did the Russia hoax, one of the first pieces of white paper they put out against Russia was not only against RT, but against Abby Martin's program in general. And Abby hadn't been on that network for 2 years at that point. Mm-hmm.
That's well. In the opening tonight, I even talked about other big things that are going on in the media, just even more traditional media, like the Soros buyout of the Odyssey media kind of network over there. We're talking about a couple of hundred radio stations, about 165 million regular listeners. That right there, even the cornering of that old traditional technology, very, very important when you think about all of the controls that are being salivated over in some of these, for example, some of these UN proposals, the controls on the internet, and the ways that we have already uncovered over the last 10 years that people are put very, inconspicuously into echo chambers, shadow banned, where you're technically using the internet, your devices work, but you're not really being seen by anybody. There's no way to really circumvent those things. It's a labyrinth, really, a digital labyrinth, and that's where I can see it's very if everybody can be really just trapped in that kind of maze while the real world is dominated by all these other corporate interests. It could be a pretty interesting thing. And you know what? I don't know if you want to start off with this. I mean, here is just the general what happened today. I have a couple of things here from the AP, and then there's a few things I want you to just riff on when it comes to the what the hell do they call it? They call it the digital ID thing. Yeah, the UN Global Digital Compact that goes along with the Pact for the Future. So yes. The head of the UN, here's what he said. Well, this is from the AP. The head of the United Nations warned the gathered leaders of the nations on Tuesday that impunity, inequality, and uncertainty are driving modern civilization toward a powder keg that risks engulfing the world, the latest in an increasing number of clarion calls from Antonio Guterres in recent years that the global situation is becoming intolerable and unsustainable. Now, I know you know this, Jason, but part of what's making the global situation intolerable is the fact that we have, and because they say this in the papers over and over again, waning trust in institutions. They are very concerned about distrust in institutions. And of course, that means all of their biggest media sound boxes.
Listen, what they want are every vehicle possible to be overtaken through these global compacts, whether they, you hear about the public-private partnerships with the WEF, but they also want government institutions and nation states. Okay, so, you just mentioned the digital compact. Sundar Pichai wrote an entire op-ed for this, UN Summit of the Future, AI opportunity for everyone. Now, I want people to understand what imagination land that is, okay? When they say AI opportunity for everyone, they mean the system. They mean the cabal, okay? They mean the institution of authoritarian global governance. And why do I say that? A lot of people don't realize this, but in this country, you already had artificial intelligence chief intelligence officers put into every major company that has artificial intelligence, okay? So now our government, okay, has full oversight over all software and AI. All of it is being audited by the government. And the only place within artificial intelligence that cannot be audited or is not subject to are the intel communities and agencies or their subsidiaries, in other words, military industrial complex contractors that are developing this AI as well. Frank, think where we are. They put everything in loving language, and this is great for everybody and all nations, no matter how large or small. They're gonna have a say at the table. Really? Oh, really? Does that count the 35,000 people that were targeted via Lavender, an AI program run by Palantir, part of that Five Eyes nations, all of which are part of the UN? Of course not. This is, if you listen to Blinken speak for the 5 minutes, he lays it out. Every cockamamie, crazy scenario they could use to seize control, from the climate crisis to a cyber attack, to another pandemic, etc., to space, is now going to be under the guise of the United Nations and these pseudo treaties and agreements, right? And they always say, don't worry, you're going to have your sovereignty. But we watched what happened during COVID 1984, my friend, right? And we sure had our sovereignty then. But what happens? The WHO suggests something, it comes down through our bureaucracies, and then essentially it is implemented on a federal level if they can. It's the same thing here. Yeah. And the thing is, it's beyond a federal level, just like it was during COVID 1984. Because when you're talking about Google, my man, you're talking about a multinational company where, think about this, all right? How many people on the planet have the magic box? Maybe there's a billion shy that don't, right? You're probably about 6 to 7 billion folks. Now, a lot of people like that iDevice, but many more have the Android. Just that alone shows you this is beyond a nation state. You talked about a system of essentially control through identification. And again, during COVID, we all saw those standards. We all saw the QR codes. We're constantly being trained daily to bend the knee and just give up our info. In fact, we talked about the independent media a little bit. And really, just as all this censorship continued to ramp up, a new alliance, Frank, has been formed. So The Last American Vagabond, James Corbett, Whitney Webb, Derek Bros brainstormed up a thing called the Independent Media Alliance. I like to think of us as the Justice League, not the crappy movies, but more like the 80s cartoon. And essentially, I'm a part of this now. Richard Andrew Grove is a part of this, Steve Poikin, and there's about a baker's dozen really good players in here. And we're going to just be doing panels on things. Their next panel coming up is going to be on digital IDs. You're probably going to want to watch it. Catherine Austin Fitz, also a part of this.
Wow.
Yes, excellent. I mean, you talk about old school. And they also want to start doing debates with people that have a totally and completely different perspective. Yeah, there's no money in this at all. This is just a bunch of people that have kind of, been outside of the world of the mainstream and even on the outskirts of the alternative for some time and done their own thing. And we like to think that we've had a pretty good track record, not getting everything perfect, but being more right than most. So, this is going to be something. Hey, Derek Bros, he was down in New York City trying to explain this to people. There's no real crowd out there, going to protest this. Now, here's the thing, the conservative alternative media that always complains about being censored, and I'm not saying that their numbers aren't, you know what I mean? They still have their echo chambers, and they get some of the talking points right. But they sure didn't focus on this one, the Summit of the Future. Did you hear about it, Frank?
It was not very big. No, it wasn't. I'd seen things that were there was a couple of people that were talking about it, but in dribs and drabs, which is why when the summit came to be this week, I paid extra special attention to it, and then I just started getting into the weeds. And I want to throw something out here. According to the UN, this is from Sociable.com. Here's a quote. A global digital compact would articulate a shared vision of an open, free, secure, and human-centered digital future that rests on the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the 2030 Agenda. The shared vision has 5 objectives. Number 1, close all digital divides and accelerate progress across the sustainable development goals of course, sustainable development means communism. Abject control over resources and people. That's it. Expand inclusion and benefits in the digital economy for all. What does a digital economy mean, Jason? I wonder what that is. A foster an inclusive, open, safe, and secure digital space that respects, protects, and promotes human rights, censorship, advance responsible, equitable, and interoperable data governance approaches. Data governance approaches. And the last one, enhance international governance of artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity. That's the shared vision of this digital compact.
I mean, think about that for a second. So AI alone, hey, it's an oxymoron, right? Because, Frank, if you've been paying attention and you have half a brain in your ass, forget about your head, you know that artificial intelligence is the ultimate tool of modern day warfare, period, full stop on everything. Pay attention. I mean, it's not a secret. They've been telling you this for decades, and now we are at that point. And I mentioned Google earlier. Again, Google partnered with NASA and the NSA on artificial intelligence and quantum computing. You notice that quantum computing has barely been discussed since artificial intelligence really started taking off on a consumer level.
It's true.
Well, that's because quantum computing is really where it's at on the cutting edge of the AI that you're not seeing. All right. So when they talk about these global compacts, that means global control. That means an effort to not only control the narrative, but the technology itself and what it's going to be able to do. All right. That's all that means. And you mentioned it, the Sustainable Development Goals, they go through them, they list them, they tell you what they're about. When we're talking sustainability, that means you're the bad guy. And we have to remember all of this, and when I say all of this, the idea of sustainability is based on a lie. It's based on this carbon system. Frank, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They couldn't give a rat's ass about the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. It's not even, hey, I got a question. How many of those ICBMs going off in Lebanon and Israel? What's their carbon footprint?
Oh, nonstop rocketry. You're right. And here, let me just throw this out there too. When they say sustainable, I mean, just so people understand how the verbiage is created, how the nomenclature is created here. It's built on this premise that the way that we live is unsustainable. The way the lifestyle that we have outside of the centralized control of one government or one tribunal or another, one regulating agency or another, any semblance of freedom is unsustainable. The length of time you take in the shower every day, Jason, is unsustainable. You got to cut it by half. It's everything. So this is what it's about.
Water's a big thing on this too. I know we've talked about the air and the climate. That's the next big move. It's all the resources. And when I talk about NASA, right? I'm a huge NASA buff, bro. I sit here. Every time I go thrifting, I watch these like 7-hour DVDs. This one in particular, the space race, I think it brings it right up to about 1985 or 1986. And one of the really funny things about it is when you hit to like 1981, 82, all of a sudden they're in on what's the basis for the climate agenda. So they're out checking out volcanoes and they're checking out the actual climate change in the areas surrounding those volcanoes and what they're doing. They're making renewable energy. So one of the big brags in this is that they build the first, forget about solar because they're obviously using solar, but they're also on the windmills as well. All of that comes from NASA and surveying it, who's also into the oceans. And that's why for the past few decades, they've also talked about how the earth is running out of fresh water. Now, I don't see the evidence for that, but you better believe when they're talking about the regimentation of all human beings, fresh water that's the next breakthrough point. If they get to a system of global command and control of a digital ID, of a digital currency, again, when you were reading those goals, data brokerage, do you know what that really means? That means them in control of a blockchain technology that is also in congruation with things like smart contracts as well. All right, so their own tokenized systems. And I know it's been a while since we've been on the broadcast together, but I think the last time I was here, I talked about something called WorldCoin and Sam Altman, no?
I think so. I think it was part because the NASA stuff came up again.
Yeah. So let me just WorldCoin. So this is actually nice that there's some pushback on this because WorldCoin has been adopted. It went through the roof. And earlier we were talking about the military-industrial complex, guys. Lockheed Martin is doing great. Raytheon and Lockheed. I mean, they're doing. Go look at the military-industrial complex stocks now. They're through the roof. So last time I checked, a couple weeks ago, WorldCoin, I think in 5 different states, is facing criminal charges because they are harvesting people's biometrics in an unsecure manner. So let's see, WorldCoin and then charged. Let's see what that says. They're okay. All right. So it looks like they dropped some of the charges. Let's see. Here it is. Behind stablecoin, WorldCoin under global investigation. Here we go. So let's just go to this quick. So I guess that Singapore just jumped in here. And again, this is a global investigation because they've harvested people's biometrics to run on the blockchain through iris scanning. And that's their business model. And essentially, these people are saying that there's no way that they're keeping this secure and it's going beyond human rights, right? I want everybody to understand this is the type of technology that the Summit of the Future is pushing that's supposed to secure your human rights. Do you see the oxymoron right there? Only it's going to be more than just your biometric face scan or your iris scan. Your thumbprints are going to be there. Eventually, if they get their way, it's going to be your DNA on top of it. It's going to be your geolocation also. And if it's not your geolocation through the magic box, well, you know what the next step is, and that is some kind of an installed device, whether that's a Neuralink or maybe even just injectable bio-nanotech, Frank. That's the technology we have today.
Yeah, well, hey, and when you look at that first objective there, to close all digital divides and accelerate progress across sustainable development goals, when they go deeper into this, they say by 2030, obviously, a big part of that one objective is about making sure that as many human beings as possible are connected to the internet. That's number one, because by 2030, the UN Global Digital Compact calls on member states to commit to, here's a quote, develop innovative and blended financing mechanisms and incentives, including in collaboration with governments, multilateral development banks, relevant international organizations, and the private sector to connect the remaining 2.6 billion people to the internet and to improve the quality and affordability of connectivity. They want literally every last person to be transacting for every need that they ever have on one system. I mean, living.
Listen, maybe not one system at first, right? but using that system of communications as a conduit, right? You just talked about the 2.6 billion people that they want to get on the internet. See, that's why there's going to be different flavors. When people talk about a CBDC, think about multiple ones. But at the end of the day, if these institutions are interacting in alliances behind the scenes, just like I discussed with Five Eyes, right? Listen, no matter what happens, Frank, in Israel and Palestine at this point, do you think Israel's getting kicked out of Five Eyes?
No.
Think the United States or Australia or the United Kingdom or Canada is going to leave Five Eyes? No. Okay? So that's one small block, right? Now, let's go to the other side of the geopolitical spectrum, right? Let's go to Russia, bad. As long as those people are part of some level of the information skin, that is also part of the agenda. I'm sure that you saw Putin now, I think a little bit over a week ago, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, talking about warfare escalating into Russia, some of these drones going in there, the United Nations, or I'm sorry, NATO and the United States in particular. Do you remember what he was focusing on, Frank? He was focusing on their satellite systems, right? Now, I think I talked about it on this show. Musk, his Starlink is the most concentrated in Ukraine because those are the satellite systems. And then he launches Blackjack. That is the classified version. These are the information skins that integrate and enable these things globally in remote areas. On top of that, Musk just had his contracts upped for, I think it was only $14 million. And that's not much, right? $14 million is a flash in the pan, just a little bit more than, here it is right here, just to show everybody. I like to back up my Johnny nonsense. So there you go, 14 million for another 6 months. But the really crazy thing is, and I'll type this in, Musk Spy Sats, and I believe it's Northrop Grumman, another one of those great companies that is doing awesome, by the way. So yeah, that's it. That's what SpaceX is really up to. Northrop Grumman and Musk are doing the new U.S. spy satellite system. Now, to me, Frank, that's not ambiguous. Putin is telling you that this is warfare, and this is how he's like, Ukraine doesn't have these satellites.
Exactly.
I
mean, this is what I opened right before I called you. I was talking about what was going on in Pennsylvania this week with Zelensky, shaking the tin cup out there again, and it just brings into focus just the juxtaposition of what is being claimed that all of these initiatives and all of these pacts are for with the United Nations and bringing 200 nations together and bringing forth, I mean, to diffuse wars they're talking about, to bring peace to the world. They're at the center of all these wars. I mean, they've been at the center of them from the beginning. They've actually taken every chance and every opportunity possible to make sure that they were not diffused when they could have been. I mean, we're selling peace for the future through the United Nations while signing bombs with Sharpies in Pennsylvania. And the juxtaposition is mind-rending.
When I see that kind of stuff and I see these politicians smirking and signing something that's going to kill somebody else, I want to fucking vomit.
Yeah, man.
I don't. Who are you that you can get off? Like, listen, it's one thing to have a military, which I understand we have to have. I also understand that there is going to be violent and forceful conflict from time to time. I will never aggrandize that. Frank, I am so goddamn sick of seeing dead kids in my feed for the last almost year on a regular basis. It turns my damn stomach. And if we're talking about modern warfare, and again, it throws it right in the face of what the United Nations is trying to sell you. We now have a world where a first world nation, an ally of the United States, has triggered explosive devices in thousands, thousands of civilian regions at once, under the guise of killing quote unquote terrorists. All right. If I don't know, if you can't define that as terrorism, the random of attack on individuals that are surrounded by innocents all over, I don't know what planet you're living on. And quite frankly, no pun intended,
Yeah.
when you look at that situation, we know very little about it. You know, there's companies, there's shell companies. There's the statement that somehow these things were intercepted and there were explosives put in there. I'm not sure what to believe, but just the fact that you could remotely trigger devices by the thousands at once through some type of a signal, okay, is extremely alarming. You know, and we could go further from there, whether it's the ignition of a lithium battery, whether or not they even needed third-party access, and say it's not software driven or a backdoor. We just don't know these things.
Well, dude, that was the whole thing. When I was talking with my friend Jim Lee about this years ago, and we were talking about Stuxnet. When you go back to Stuxnet, he said that was the first time in human history that we have now on the public record that a software bug was put into something to physically destroy it, that you can actually overheat something and make it just detonate itself. And we already know the tendency of these lithium batteries to become it's like thermite. I mean, it's incredible. When these things become unstable, they explode. They turn into blowtorches. They're like exploding blowtorches. They're incredible. The destructive power of them. Now they're saying that this was all pagers. They were rigged in some way. Maybe there's a little bit of C4 or something. I don't know what the hell was inside these things and how they thought they would be able to, with any degree of accuracy, get these into the hands of only members of a network that they wanted to get out. Again, even if it was 100% accurate that only Hezbollah was going to be with these things, the fact that they were all going off at the same time at the height of the day in all these social situations, these things exploding right next to children, and quite a few have been hurt. That's old school technology. That perhaps there might have been some kind of a physical alteration to these things. But if you're telling me that there's not a way to make all these smartphones, go up like Stuxnet when they already achieved that in a nuclear power plant a couple of decades ago. I mean, hell, they always show us that the conspiracy theories were true about what this technology can do.
And let me just say this, you talked about software as a hardware mod. Anybody can right now go online and go get what's called a USB killer. It's a dongle, right? And you take the USB dongle and you plug it into anything, bro. And as long as that thing has power on it, it blows a part of the board of anything. You can go watch the videos online. Some of my tech reviewers have taken it, and from laptops to video game systems to even if you took a dongle on your phone like this one and you connected it in and you dared to put it in, it fried a board on that. That's a small little thumbstick that's commercialized. So like you said, we really don't know. And, it's funny, that kind of wants, we were talking about NASA and what we know. And I don't know if you know anything about Polaris Dawn and what just happened there. But I always tell people we barely know anything about this planet. So NASA actually in August just announced that for the first time, it's 2024, they found another invisible type field as important as gravity surrounding the planet. Hold on, we're going to type that in. Invisible, just so people don't think I'm just pulling that on my ass. We're going to Mars, everybody.
Yeah, I know.
So
we're going to Mars.
We're going to Mars. Invisible field, August, and then I'll type gravity because it's brand new. Here it is, right here. So, you can't make this stuff up. Discovers an invisible electric field surrounding the Earth. This what, 3 weeks ago? I mean, look, that's the thing, man. There's so much going on, not only in the planet and the world, our reality, that these eyes and these bodies just can't even feel and that we don't know about. And Lord knows what kind of technologies have been wirelessly and quote unquote invisibly tapped into at this point. And what degree of manipulation all of us are under, unfortunately. You know, alls I know, Frank, is I don't sleep so well at night these days. I got to improve on that.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. And let's get to another point over here. This is another one from Sociable. The unelected, let's see here. This is the third one. Objectives on fostering an inclusive, open, safe, and secure digital space that respects, protects, and promotes human rights, which, of course, we all know a human right is not being told anything that's unflattering or whatever the hell else. He said, we recognize that digital and emerging technologies can facilitate the manipulation and interference of information in ways that are harmful to societies and individuals, negatively affect the enjoyment of human rights, and fundamental freedoms as well as the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. Don't forget the Sustainable Development Goals, okay? That's what the Global Digital Compact states. Therefore, the UN calls on member states to, and has this been agreed to by all 193?
Signed up. It got signed in yesterday.
Everybody.
We did it.
Here it is. Quote, they call on member states to, quote, design and roll out digital media and information literacy curricula to ensure. These
are literally re-education camps, okay, that whether they're physical or not. This is what I'm saying, dude. This is the takeover.
I know.
They went into every arena. Like I said, forget about the pandemic. That's an afterthought on this one. They went into the digital arena. They went into the metaverse. They went into misinformation. They went into water. They went into space. They're like, what? If they thought that your nuts hair mattered, folks, it would be in this goddamn document. That's how far they went. They micromanaged everything in their little loving Bernaysian language and made it as broad and vague as possible, Frank, that literally they could have a forum on the United Nations of any aspect of the resources on this planet or the information being spread on this planet, vote on it, and then make some type of authoritarian global regulation based on that. That's not word salad, folks. That's actually what this is. I didn't just Kamala embarrass you. Let me say it again. These guys can point in the direction of any threat to any resource or piece of information out there, have a vote, think it's important, and then try to regulate your life based on their narrative that surrounds it. I'll stop.
Yeah, no, hey. And when you say that it's they want to make sure that every member state, no matter how small, has a voice, we know that's bullshit. Because of course, even just over here now, in a traditional American sense, what is actually real, and then what is a pretended breakaway nation that we are living in right now? The United States has absolutely. The United Nations has absolutely no sway over any kind of legislative matters in the U.S. It is unconstitutional to even form an alliance with nations like this and to then let all of these member states vote on anything that would come down and impact the entire Bill of Rights. Every last thing, it negates the entire Bill of Rights, every point here, and especially this one. Again, I'm going to read it again. Design and roll out digital media and information literacy curricula to ensure that all users have the skills and knowledge to safely and critically interact with content, to safely interact with our shows, essentially, and with information providers, and to enhance resilience against the harmful impacts of mis- and disinformation. It's just, it's breathtaking. It's breathtaking. It's breathtaking.
I mean, again, when you listen to these people, it's honestly the same script that we've been hearing for a while now, more and more ramped up. But remember, they always throw this in there. They talk about universal human rights, like you said, smallest nation has the same voice as the largest. And then they like to be large on the sovereignty term. Don't worry, we're not taking your sovereignty. Every single aspect of these votes that then try to turn these suggestions, if you will, into authoritarian rule, law, dictates goes against that. It's the total opposite of sovereignty. You know, are you and I getting a call? Is our congressman or our state senator over at the UN going, hey, wait a minute, Whoa, 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 whoa. No, they get no choice whatsoever. It's a top-down control system. And look, I don't know where we're going, but it seems to be a pretty damn dark spot. You know, you got two real legit assassination attempts on the president of the United States, okay, or former president. You know, the crowd out there, and some of them I have a lot of respect for, that think that's staged. Not from the evidence I've seen. You know, it looked to me like they tried to blow the guy's head off on national television. That didn't seem to work. Now they're cool with doing it outside of the purview of the public, aka on that golf course. Did you see the what looks like an attempted poisoning of the man that nobody seems to want to talk about in Arizona?
Yes, I did see that.
I mean, that's not being discussed. All of this is like a side subject. Almost no one's talking about it, as serious as it is. And, you know, again, Bannon's in prison. Jones could be off the air before the inauguration. Who is going to raise the alarm bell if this guy gets his head blown off? Seriously. I mean, yeah, maybe some of the organizations or outlets we talked about before, they don't have the cultural impact that Jones and Bannon do. Dude, I was watching stand-up comedy randomly last night. I like to go to bed laughing, everybody. That's what you do when you deal with this kind of information all the time. Random comic, never seen the guy in my life before, on YouTube for like 4 days. 10-minute bit on Alex Jones. Talked about Alex Jones, how he wouldn't even be happy in his in a libertarian paradise. Some pretty good one-liners about barbecue sauce and whiskey, but the crowd erupted for it. I mean, he was a pretty funny guy, this comic, but at the same time, it just shows the cultural. It was so much that he went back for a callback on the Alex Jones bit. Alex Jones has become a significant political and relevant cultural figure that represents more than himself at this point, period, right? And quite frankly, if I said it twice, I can't help myself today.
3 times, actually.
3 times, all right. And
it's all right. That's a testament to my marketing genius.
Yes, it is marketing genius, my friend. That speaks to the fact that really, I hate to call Jones almost a meme of himself, but that's the type of significance he now has. And if you even marginalize that in a time period, look, we're in the wildest times ever.
Yeah, but you know, Jason, and I understand that. I mean, especially if somebody like an Alex Jones has just been doing things for 30 some odd years or whatever it is, and you know, Steve Bannon. I know the timing. We have this election. We know all the stuff that's hanging in the balance, and there's an acceleration at play. There's a real accelerant that's been put into the fire right now because, you know, this UN thing, everything else, for as bad as it is, I still take that as a really good sign that the it's frantic, it's desperate, and that at least we're getting to some kind of a point where we're not dry heaving anymore. At least we might get something up. I don't know, but beyond that, even when it comes to Donald Trump, if he manages to overcome everything that's going to go against him, from not only physical threats to his life, but also all of the machinery that is there to prevent him from actually becoming inaugurated like we saw in 2020 and will definitely be there again this time around. If he overcomes all of that stuff, we only got 4 years until we have to put our big boy pants on and live without him. The same thing goes for Alex Jones, Steve Bannon. I mean, there's plenty of people out there getting behind the microphone. We got to invigorate we got to find a way to make better inroads to people. There's a lot more interest in this kind of stuff, and I just wish that there was a better way to call everybody's attention to get in front of people's in faces, because there is a lot of places people can go. Not that I want Bannon or Jones to be taken off the air or final, but there's got to be more than just 2 people at any given time. You know, it can't just be Joe Rogan and Elon Musk saving the world. There's so many people out here who are getting their hands dirty and willing to.
Well, Elon Musk ain't saving nothing. But let me use another example there, because you're right. These people, for instance, let's say Trump does everything that's awesome, right, in those 4 years. Who knows how far that brings us? Michael Flynn, who I interviewed recently, I like his perspective on it. He goes, look, bottom line is, best case scenario, he gets in and everything goes somewhat well. He's just buying us time, right? I couldn't agree with you more, right? Thomas Massie is one of those guys that I think we need to amplify his voice so that his ideas are not only amplified, but they can be implemented. Did you see Massie, I think about a week and a half ago, talking about the budget and the SAVE Act?
No, I did not see that.
Brother, he lays it out so damn well. It goes beyond party lines. It is absolutely perfect. I will try to sum it up, but it's about a 6.5 minute video, and I could not. I mean, you got to play it for your audience. It's a must watch, but I'm going to lay it out for you. So he sits up there and he goes, look, we're about to vote on this budget. He goes, it's going to be an omnibus bill, just like it always is. And everybody knows with the budget bill, it's this big stack of bills, and it's all put together. They throw pork in it. None of it ever stays, but they all end up passing a version of it. The bill never, ever, ever, ever brings the budget down. So he goes, first of all, we should have been doing one bill a month. We should have had 12 of these things. We should have been voting on them as we go. We're not going to do that. He goes, I've been here a dozen years. He goes, so we're going to either get it right before Christmas if we're lucky, or we're going to get it after Christmas. Almost none of you are going to read it. He goes, that's the truth of the matter. And we're going to have a bunch of political theater. He goes, the Democrats, they're going to get their welfare. They're going to get their authoritarian measures. They're going to be happy to vote on that. It's going to pass. He goes, the Republicans, they love the military-industrial complex. He goes, there's going to be boosts in that too. They're going to get what they want. That's going to pass. And he goes, but there's going to be one bauble. There's going to be a bauble there for everybody to look at, for the political theater, for everybody to vote like it matters. And he goes, it doesn't. And he goes, and that's the SAVE Act. And he goes, every damn one of you knows at the end of the day, the SAVE Act ain't going to be in the bill at the end of it. It's going to be stripped out. He goes, zero chance it's in there. And he goes, look, it's going to be good political theater. All the Democrats are going to sit there. They're going to vote for illegals to be able to vote in our national election. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and a bunch of Republicans are going to get to grandstand. And he goes, we should have that debate and people show who they are. But he goes, at the end of the day, it's not even going to be in the bill. And he's just like, I don't even want to be a part of it. I'm not a thespian. I'm not an actor. It's a must watch because he really lays down how, and he also talks about how Congress should be doing their job and they're the ones that should be implementing the laws, right?
Yeah.
And we have none of that. You know, Massie is one of those guys that honestly I just learned about, I think, right during COVID, 2019, 2020, 2020 actually, 2020, 2021. And he has impressed me time and time again. It's not because he's a Republican. It's because he's goddamn consistent and honest. He refused to go and sit and watch Zelensky. And he refused to go and sit and watch Netanyahu because he's not a warmonger, okay? That's a guy I want to see put in power in this administration. Look, man, there's a lot of work to be done. I think if you really want to dismantle the system, because look, there has been somewhat of an awakening. I'm not a doomer. I'm really an upbeat guy. Day one, declassify the things you said you were going to do it. RFK, MLK, JFK, and 9/11 especially. 9/11 with the cherry on top. Period.
Well, that would be something. That would be so. Yeah, that it would be a great thing. And then, of course, like you said before, there's a lot of homeless people looking for places to sleep right now. I think the UN building in New York would be a great place to start. Gut it and bring in cots and bring in the baby diapers and everything else. Get it the hell out of the United States. Jason, this has been fantastic. I know that this is going to be, a lot of people are going to be picking through this now because, of course, this is all just still breaking, right? It's been building up, but this has been a week of action over there at the UN level. What are you going to be working on over the next day or so, and how can people find your work?
Sure. Probably tomorrow. Again, I'm doing the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. I think I'm going to focus in on the Menendez brothers murders now that Netflix has made a almost completely fictional account after their Dahmer miniseries did well. What they forgot to tell everybody about the Menendez murders is not only did Lyle and Eric say that they were brutally and physically tortured and raped by their father from a very small age, but their father was actually a very, very powerful music executive. So they weren't these just like rich, spoiled kids. And when I say music executive, he was involved with the band Menudo. For those that don't know what Menudo is a very large boy band, especially in Mexico, that had different members, often young children that would be interchangeable. That's where Ricky Martin got his start. And several members of that band have come forward long since the Menendez murders and trials and said, yes, Jose Menendez also raped them. So, we're going to be focusing on Hollyweird, going beyond Diddy and the Freak-Offs. We're probably going to talk about Flavor Camp, if you don't know what that is. So those type of things, delving into that's probably what we're going to be doing. But I'm going to be keeping my eye on not only the United Nations, but also what's going on in space and everything in between. The election is a little bit over a month out, Frank. You know me, I love it all. I try to absorb as much as possible. I try to use discernment, and I try to put out the relevant information.
Well, I can't wait to listen to that one because I've been wondering about all of the recent Menendez brothers headlines. As I like to joke on this show, when my brother and I were young in the 90s, people used to call us the Menendez brothers because whatever we went to as a family function, we'd always end up strangling each other on the ground. There'd be some kind of a violent altercation between us. So I have a special connection to those two, and I want to know what the hell's going on there. So I'll go on the TalkStream Live app, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in the fourth hour. And you know what? I'm going to start building up my guest list for election night. I like bringing a whole bunch of friends on that night, and if you're not booked solid, I'd love to have you show up for a few minutes.
Yeah, as long as I'm not journeying the kids around for volleyball or whatnot, we will make that happen.
I get you, man. Okay. Have a wonderful one. Thank you for holding our hand through this one because, like you said, not a lot of people knew that this was going on, especially if they did the details. So, and there's plenty more to get to, but I think we did enough to get the ball rolling. Thanks for everything, and I'll talk to you soon.
That's great. Thanks, brother.
There you go. Jason Bermas on his way. And, I got more on this. We'll read through a little bit of this on the other side of the intermission. I want to take your calls. It's 914-200-0269, 914-200-0269. I'll be reading your super chats. I got a couple over here. That's quite frankly superchat.com. If you're watching on YouTube, and there's plenty of you who are, there ain't no way to do anything over there except like and share, which is very important. But we're demonetized there for almost, over 4 years at this point. And there's a lot of people that really enjoy that kind of interaction with the audience where you can support the show and also get some thoughts and a punchline, whatever the hell else. Get it on in. Quite frankly, superchat.com. And it's universal. Anybody can use that. We'll be right back. Can't wait to hear what you guys and gals think.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Quite frankly.
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 Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
All right, everybody. So let's get to some super chats. Let me put the number on there, 914-200-0269. You give me a call. Got a bunch of people already dialing in. Good. Keep dialing. Keep the digits going. I just want to get through these couple of chats. John Volt says, I asked before, who killed Thomas Massey's wife? He is the only congressman that refused his Israeli handler. His wife died right after, or he appeared on Tucker and they returned from vacation. Yeah, he was, he turned a lot of heads when he talked about how rare it is for somebody to not have an APAC guy But I don't know the details of all that. I don't know. Let's see here. Stove Stoop says, cold plunge this year, Frank? Yes or no? I don't want to. I'm going there thinking, nah. I got my own cold plunge now, and I'm fine. I just want to eat some good food, and I want to just have Aurora and Lauren have a good time by the cliffs and the beaches of Martha's Vineyard. We'll be staring at some beautiful sights. And I'm not going to even think about the cold plunge, because if I just don't feel like doing it, I'm not gonna. But if the inspiration strikes, and it won't be peer pressure, if inspiration strikes, yeah, sure, I'll slip into that shit again. And because it'll be Aurora this time going, you can do it, Dad. You can do it, Dad. And she'll probably say something about my boobies being out. Your boobies are out. See, I'm not doing it. I'll do push-ups instead. All right, let's see here. Jay Britt says, Frank, I love Jason's passion on issues he latches onto quite frankly. Thanks for bringing him back. Oh wait, he latches onto the issues he latches onto, and quite frankly, in quote, hit 3 times. He only noticed that he said quite frankly twice, but the first time he just went right through it. I don't care. I don't keep track, although I did tonight. Thanks for bringing him back. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, I'm glad that he was available tonight, because I was looking at this UN stuff. I had it all stacked up last night, and it goes hand in hand with what was going on in Pennsylvania, like I just said. You have this freak, this drug addict from Ukraine coming into Pennsylvania, being flown around in military aircraft, stumping for Kamala Harris on a war platform. Like, the platform is war. The platform is we need more bombs. And that freak Governor Shapiro sat there with a Sharpie. I couldn't believe it. And then the UN over here is talking about how they can bring about a golden age of peace throughout the entire planet. And of course, it's all about making sure that everybody's on the internet and people are using it exactly the way that they want, that they're protected from misinformation. So free speech. It's a hellscape. It really is a hellscape. And it all makes perfect sense when you understand the kind of people that we're dealing with here. So yeah, but it's great because when Jason was free, I said, let's do this. And that made this week complete. Tomorrow should be great too. Lee says, hey Frank, just wanted to shout out happy 39th birthday to our pal Colin. He's been a longtime listener and advocate of your show and will surely hear this while renovating his new house. Keep up the great work. Easy. Oh man, Colin, have a great time. I'm just happy that you're renovating a house. That process is so exciting. It's grueling, but it's so exciting. And I'm glad that you're hanging out with me while you do it. Fantastic. Let's take a call from Carrie. How are you, Carrie?
Hey, Frank. It's great to hear your voice. I always wonder about those people that call in and they think it's not you because they think someone. Is this Frank? And I'm like, do they not watch the show? He always answers the phone. Yeah,
but do I sound like myself on?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
yes.
I do.
I don't get it. Anyway, the reason I called is so I wanted to ask. Have you ever seen the movie Kingsman: The Secret Service it's got Samuel Jackson in it?
No.
He's the bad guy.
No, okay. I haven't. It's been recommended to me, but no, I have not.
Yeah, because when talking about the pagers going off and everything, because in that movie, they give away all these SIM cards and people line up to get these free SIM cards for their phones. And they emit a frequency that basically makes everyone go crazy and kill each other. But there's other things. There's other things where the elite of the world have these implants put in their face, and they can blow people up and kill people instantly. And it's kind of violent in parts of the movie, but just given the way movies are predicting and everything, it's just really weird, some of the stuff that's in there. But it's a good movie. I think you'd enjoy watching it.
I'll check it out. And, Carrie, that's the reason. And there's so many movies out there that have to do, there's some sort of a premise in there, or, somewhere along the plot, there is there's some kind of a synchronized explosive device, or some kind of a trick for one opponent to get the other opponent, whatever it is. The thing that I pulled on that night, or the night after, when we were talking about it on the second night after the news broke about all these pagers and these two-way radios and sometimes home solar kits that were going off and causing house fires, it was Season of the Witch. It was Halloween 3. That's the first thing I went to. I said, this is very Season of the Witch, where you had this kind of this evil plot to take out not only so many children in the world, but also all of their families by putting these masks, these compromised and sabotaged masks, getting them to be sold all across the country. And they have a microchip on the back that has just like a little piece of Stonehenge or something like in there. It has everything to do with witchcraft and all that stuff. And then it's just everybody was supposed to be wearing the mask at a certain time. And then the big giveaway, the big Halloween giveaway, they sit in front of the television, the big Halloween giveaway goes off, and there's essentially a trigger from this commercial. And boom, you just like melt down, and all these bugs and shit snakes come out of your face and all that stuff. And I said, oh, this is very Season of the Witch. I don't think that they put a little chip from Stonehenge in all of those pagers, but why the hell not? Somebody was saying some kind of a dark, there's definitely a black mass going on somewhere. All those people getting hurt all at once. Seemed like a waste if you weren't trying to harvest all that pain. Jay Semo says, I tuned in late. I'll catch up tomorrow. I think you're going to have a good time with it, Jay. All right, let's take another call. 830, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, man, this is JT from Texas, dude. I didn't figure that I'd get through here, but
here you are.
Love you. I've been listening to you for a while now, and I guess it's 2019, but
well, JT.
Yeah, man. Hi.
JT, you sound very, very far away. Are you on speakerphone or on one of those headsets?
Let me switch over.
Yeah, switch over.
Hey, man.
Oh,
sorry about that.
Sound great. Okay, JT, go right ahead. JT from Texas, go ahead.
Hey, man. All I'm saying is we've got a bunch of different crises going on. We've got the migrants, of course. You got inept people in office who pay to play, and there's a bunch of crazy stuff going on. I just called in. I haven't been listening to the show, so I don't know what topic y'all are on right this second, but
on
go
this
ahead and fill
time, on this time, I mean, were you watching?
I wasn't. I just got home from work, and I figured I'm going to call in and see if it works.
Oh, it works, my friend. It works even better when you works even better if you know what's going on. I wouldn't be able to sum it up because we just had a nearly hour-long conversation with Jason Bermas about what's been going on at the UN leading up
Jason Bermas. That whole thing that's going on. What's up with the 923? This number has got some sort of cryptic significance in the occult world. I have no idea what's going on with that.
Was September 23rd?
Yeah, and apparently it was predicted in The Simpsons and all of these other media and everything else. And these guys, they're sitting down trying to sell our sovereignty to the highest bidder. They want this one world order. They're going to get it no matter. Somebody's calling in. I can't believe that. But
okay, well, you take care of that.
Anyways, they want this one world order, and they're going to get it whether we like it or not, But if we sell our sovereignty to the WHO, it's over with.
Hey,
Texas ain't going to stand for it, though.
We'll see. We will see about that, JT. I mean, I get what you're saying. We're going into different. Kind of just like improvising a whole new show right now because they didn't know what we were talking about. But if you're calling in, ladies and gentlemen, and you don't know what we were talking about that night, you can just say, hey, what's going on? I just wanted to shout you out. I love the show, and I want to say happy birthday to so-and-so. But we can't just start a whole new show. Yeah, there is a there's a little bit There's a little bit about those dates and those numbers for sure. But as far as selling things to the highest bidder, I don't see any auctioning going on. It's just dictating. I mean, there's 193 nation states, and this is something that everybody just threw their signatures on. I don't know that was an auction. I don't know if that was an auction. I think that it's just like everything else, act as if, and just go ahead and do it. Now, I mean, it's one of those things where you just have to see our situation, our position. It's not a rosy one, but it's all right. A dream of spring. It's going to be all right. It will resolve itself. There's going to be a resolution. No doubt about it. There is no way in hell that the planet can be run that tightly. Think about the resources that have been put into just trying to flood and manipulate the media space here in the United States to try to make people believe one thing or another, to make people obey one set of laws. Think about the resources, and it's not working to the point where it's Cloward and Piven at this point. Keep the borders open, deny this, just make sure that there is just maximum pain that's forming on the local level. So just so that people are distracted enough to not have enough time to come at the real assholes. And I think everybody knows. Everybody knows who the real assholes are now. It's just hard to split up your attention. You got things that are going on in your backyard. You got things that are hitting you no matter where you are. Even if it's stable in your part of the country, you're still part of a greater economic model. Maybe the local economy is good. Great. That's great. That's the way where people are really insulating themselves at this point. But the global model is, I mean, it's impressive to see the ambition that these monsters really have. You see Alex Soros, that little skeevy little freak in his high-rise apartment over there, whining and dining and 69ing Tim Waltz today in New York City, over there doing the bidding for his 93-year-old slug father. And I'm just like, it's how the hell do they think they're going to pull this off? Now, I know that they have no problem killing a lot of people. Okay? And it could be a silent program, or it could just be, hey, all right, let's maximize the damage of what's going on in the Middle East and Ukraine. They don't give a shit about that stuff. But it's not going to end their way. It's not going to, it can't. It can't. Too much. They're going to lose. They're losing. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. 914-200-0269. Let me make sure I get everybody in over here. Take a listen. Robert Starnes, thank you. Doug Simi, Boys Blanc, Sean Joe. Not My Name says, sounds like a bunch of commie gobbledygook. You're right. You're right.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
He does. It all does. Sustainable development, commie gobbledygook. C. Blanche, thanks again. Stun Gun says, hello, Patriots. Nice shirt, Frank. I need one. I forgot who gave it to me. And I don't know where to get it. It's very comfortable. Just Google it. CJM, thank you. JSem, Coffee Talk with Sandra says, great convo with Jason. Thank you, Sandra. It's good to see you out there. Homegoy is back. Says, in addition to 9/11, JFK, etc., release exposed the COVID hospital murder protocols. Sean Joe, I believe the exploding pagers were a message to all who oppose Israel, USA polls, etc. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. I mean, they did it. They did that. It was shocking. At the same time, it wasn't surprising. Just like around January 6th, all the people who just assumed that we were being tracked through our cell phones, were treated to Jake Tapper on CNN on like January 7th, January 8th, 2001, when they were doing the extensive coverage of the fallout of the riots and all that stuff. And they actually showed this green swarm of cellular data walking from the speeches all the way down to the Capitol, and people really didn't. Most people didn't even put two and two together. You're watching real-time tracking of thousands of cell phones migrating from one part of a city to another. It's been used on a public news broadcast. The data collection, real-time data collection that they said did not happen. But because thought that it was such a big event, and these are the good guys putting together a comprehensive tale about how the whole day's events transpired. I think most people didn't even put two and two together about what they were watching, what data was collected, and how it was provided to public news broadcast. So the fact that there could be any kind of a plan to target people with pagers, when we know that there are biological plans out there to target people biologically by race with, certain agents and certain things, we understand that. There's definitely racial components to a lot of the biological scourges that we have learned about. So there's a lot there. Head of the United Nations calls for a global situation unsustainable. Well, I guess they need some sustainability, right? We can't go on like this, the Secretary General says. We can't go on like this. He said the world is in an era of epic transformation, facing challenges never seen before, with geopolitical divisions deepening, the planet heating, and wars raging in the Middle East, Ukraine, Sudan, and wherever. They have no clue how it will end. We're edging toward the unimaginable. They're edging us toward the unimaginable. It's apocalypse fatigue. No doubt about it. Let's take a call from Travis. How are you, man?
Hey, what's up, Frank?
Oh, nothing
How
much.
you doing?
I'm doing all right. How's about you?
Doing pretty good. Hey, I was just calling in because I didn't catch all of the Bermas thing, but I'm going to listen to it later. I've been catching all your shows, like, after the fact, because I've been working. I haven't been able to catch them live, and you've been having some good shows lately. But, my son got draft paperwork in the mail yesterday, bro. He's got 10 days to return this paperwork under penalty of all these, jail and fines. And it's like, bro, they're trying to take us out any way they can.
Wait. Your friend got drafted? What'd you say?
No, my son, who just turned 18, got selective service paperwork in the mail yesterday that has to be filled out in the next 10 days and returned, or else he could face jail time. He could face penalties like fines in the thousands of dollars. And it's like my wife's all crying last night, and I'm telling you, babe, this is what they're trying to do. Either they want to pump your kid with a vax, smoke him like that, or they have no issues sending my son to go take a bullet and die because they got 21 million replacements pouring in as we speak. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They're coming from all sides, bro. And it's like, I got these liberal people that I work with, dude. And I told them yesterday, I'm like, you see, be grateful that you too, your kids are only still like 13 and 12 and all this other, bro. But all you Biden voters, they should be drafting your kids first. How about that? You got TDS so bad that you got, and it doesn't hit you until what if it was your fucking son that they're trying to take? I was a Marine. I went to the Marine Corps, bro, by choice because I didn't give a fuck at that time in my life, and I was down to go do whatever. Didn't care. But you know what? Now that I see what this government does, I don't want to go fight for them, bro. If it came down to me or my son, I'd tell those fools, take me back. I'm 50 years old, and I'll still out-hustle these punks. These kids can't hang, bro. We will lose a war if they take... I'm not talking down on my son, but he ain't built like that. He's not built like we were. Like, they can't do... It's not the same, man. This generation, they're weak. They're weak in their minds, and they're weak when it comes to work ethic. And it's like, bro, it's all by design. You know, they dumb them down in school, and now they want to take them and think that they could go fight a war and survive. Bro, it sounds bad, but, you know, I've seen a bunch of these little Israeli shorts on, because, you know, they got some smoking hot soldiers over there, whatever. And you watch them, but the one thing they do have, bro, whether they're brainwashed or whatever it is, dog, they have patriotism and they have camaraderie between themselves. And that's a major element in winning in battle, bro. I don't think our youth could even pull it off, dog.
No way in hell. And that's not to say that there's not some tough as nails kids out there, that there aren't some throwbacks out there.
They're a dime a dozen now.
No, the other way, you know, it's again, you just said it, China, Russia, Israel, wherever the hell it is that they take fighting seriously because they're preparing to do it, and they understand that there might be wars that have to be fought or whatever the hell it is. They take nationalism, they take patriotism, and they take masculinism very, 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 very seriously, and we are a fucking joke. On top of just we're a physical mess, and
we're in trouble. We're in trouble, bro. If all these libs don't start getting this fucking letter in the mail like I did, and snap out of it real soon, dude. I mean, we're talking like what, 35 days till we're supposed to have an election or something crazy, bro. They haven't even dropped the fucking the shit they're gonna drop on us yet. It's like we're in the eye of the hurricane. And you got these people just walking through life, bro. They don't get it, dude. And it's like all they can talk about is Trump this, Trump that, man. Why don't you just shut up, dude? And like, stop tripping off Trump and look around you, bro. Like, look around. Businesses are failing. We're going broke every day. Like, our money's stretching thinner and thinner and thinner every month. And like, how long is this sustainable? People, like, wake up.
Well, Travis,
good luck. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir because all of us that are listening to you right now, we don't think like them. So it's like I'm preaching to the choir, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that. But the people that don't get it, it's like they're fucking dragging us down. They're starting to fucking piss me off.
Well, you're getting it out, and what am I going to do? I appreciate you calling in on it because it's real, and it's very temporary too. The whole thing there. You talk about TDS and people who are just totally driven insane by hatred of Donald Trump, even when he's gone for good, whether it be in 4 years from now or in just a few months from now. It's one of those things where they're going to hold on to it now because they're absolutely insane, and they've actually rationalized that the wars that were started just in the last couple of years are noble. They're more noble than not being in conflict and to having our borders secured. Like they have been duped into believing it's in their best interest to be slowly bleeding to death. And it's that you can't. I understand it. We have to deal with that, and also be of the mindset where you can clearly see what's being declared and what's being formulated for the world on a large scale. It is one of those things where you're talking about realizing trauma for a while. And thanks for the call, Travis. It's great to have you on again. It's one of those things where dealing with trauma and also dealing with awakening. There is a lot of that going on right now. It is not a happy thing. It's not a happy thing. It's pretty depressing to uncover all this stuff. Now, many of us have been uncovering it over the years. We've gotten used to the idea of losing, that perhaps we were already at a major disadvantage. Perhaps many of us were born after we had already lost. That there was just going to be this is our slow descent to the surface. And at one point, we had a couple of wings left on this airplane, and we were gliding for a time being. Now it seems like the airplane is breaking apart. And whatever. We still got lives to live. And there's going to be a lot of people learning very hard lessons. And we got to keep ourselves, we got to keep ourselves in the right state of mind so that there are new friends to be made along the way. Now, as far as the UN people go, those suits can go to hell. I don't give a shit what the hell happens on that end. But they are, but locally, there's a lot more that has to be dealt with, and I don't know how that's going to work out. How the hell is Chicago, for example? Like, this is going on right now. The New York Post put this out here. This is from Chicago. People that are in gangs in Chicago. They're talking about black Americans versus the Venezuelan gangs, that this thing is going to pop off. I mean, this is the more... Forget about what the WEF for a second. That's what you got to forget about. Take a listen to this. This is Chicago. This is going to be a reality for people very, very soon.
America has allowed gangs to enter our country.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now.
The city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke. It's going to go up in flame.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city. They say money that should be going to the African American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's...
Now, here's the thing. Non-citizens. You and I say that we're racist scumbags. This is going to be, when you think about the people who are working this system, and how they have divided everybody up into demographics, and there's everybody's pitted against each other, or at least they want it that way. Urban black Americans, not people who are in gangs, urban black Americans just in general. This has been a Democrat stronghold for a long time. And for a while, years ago, decades ago, things like the Congressional Black Caucus and all that stuff, they used to be very strict border hawks, because they knew what illegal immigration meant to their lower middle class to lower class constituents that needed a hand, that wanted to make sure that they were still able to compete in a job market, to get something at a lower end, work their way up, build some skills, and stay competitive, and stay working for themselves to get independent. It's all gone now. It's all gone. They've been sold out, sold down the river. Black women have taken... This is what they're trying to do. For the most part, they have taken a lot of the Democrats have maintained a lot of their support. There's a lot of them that are jumping ship, but they're being held there by the stupid abortion issue. Like, that's important. Women, the liberal women in general, have fucking ruined the country. Liberal women in general are the worst thing that ever happened to this country. They are unreachable. You see all these new these polls of what is moving the needle for women versus men. The economy is just like the number one issue all over the place, and for the women, it's just killing children. They're fucking unreachable. And there is this sellout that has happened right here. And what it's going to happen is now, not only are black Americans who are just, everyday, citizens and members of the neighborhood over there that are going to start feeling the heat from all of these illegals that are coming in. They're starting to not only show up to the town halls and say exactly what the problem is. They're using all the terminology we do. When we say non-citizen, they say, you racist, how dare you, you xenophobe. When they say non-citizen, they just don't report on it. That's not going to work. It's not going to work for long. And hey, everybody's got this is just what it's going to be. It's what it's going to be. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be a fight going on, and I'm really interested, even though I don't want to see people die in American streets, especially not more than they already do. It's going to be really interesting to see how the news and local politicians and law enforcement report on the conflicts that we are building toward right now. It's going to be very interesting to see how this is built up.
Trenderawagwa could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames. Photographer Matt McDermott and I traveled to Chicago's South Side to see what was happening for ourselves after we heard about a police report last month that the Trenderawagwa gang had taken over an office building there. We spoke to a number of young, hardcore gang members, as well as gang elders who have retired from the life, and just regular citizens who are very much part of the community. And they're all furious at the estimated $500 million that's reportedly been funneled toward new migrants in Chicago since 2022. And they aren't happy either about what they say are Venezuelan criminal gangs that are leaving the shelters and spilling out into the South Side into abandoned buildings.
Just taking up abandoned buildings, strongholds, and they got their hands full. The media is going to have their hands full. Law enforcement's going to have their hands full. But it's a necessary part of the plan, obviously. It's obviously very necessary for what they're building up. Now, how that works in with the UN, I don't know. Maybe they just want to make sure that there are people that are settling all over the United States that just completely makes it impossible for there ever to be cohesion again, and that it's just going to be a war zone, at least in certain places. That's what's going on there. I don't care about what Klaus Schwab and his friends say about how long I take to take a shower, but we're going to have to figure out something wherever the hell we are living. There's going to be a little bit more of a cold water in the face moment. It's got to be. Got to be. 914-200-0269. How the hell is everybody doing? Friggin' Personhead says not worried about being sold off to the WHO. Christiane Hall is the white pill. Can't sell what you don't own, commie losers. Love you, Frank. Exactly. I don't care about that. They can pass whatever the hell they want. I mean, all it takes is a couple of governors, a couple of sheriffs with a backbone to say, okay, DC, you want us, we're not coming with you. Not coming with you on this one. You want to fight about it? Whatever. All right, let's take a call from Tammy. What's going on, Tammy?
Oh, hi there. So, John, my husband, John, he's a super fan, and he's gotten text threads from Frank.
Tammy, can you please put down the stream in the background?
Oh, John, could you turn the stream down in the background? We've tried to get through for so long, and so, well, one thing we've wanted to ask Frank about is, sorry, he's he's trying to turn it off. So one thing we really wanted to talk to Frank about was just the extreme violence that's going on everywhere in our country. We're from Ohio, and there's one thing that's really bothered me a lot. About a month or so ago, there was, I don't know if you guys heard the story, but there was a girl, 25-year-old master's degree student, and she was in a Taco Bell drive-thru, and she got shot and killed by just some crazy guy because he rammed into her, and he shot and killed her, killed himself, and we're just kind of just really upset about this kind of thing. So we just wanted to see what Frank's thoughts were about all of this, like just crazy people just doing these random violence things all over the country, and we're just not really sure why.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, I get what you're saying, Tammy. All right, well, let me pass that along, and I'll see what happens. Let me see what I think about that. I guess it goes right into this other stuff that I was just saying. You know, those little face-offs that are popping up in places like Chicago. And there is something missing. I said it the other night when we were talking about how your neighbors were. Had a couple of people get in touch with me over email, and I was going to put that into the show maybe tomorrow night, just after we have our shortwave radio conversation or something else. What's happening to people? Is it because of one thing or another that has been taken, or is it really just people are living in shock still? We always talk about trauma and trauma-based mind control. And if you went through 2020, you came out on the other end completely unimpacted, either economically, socially. There's not any kind of stress, added stress that was put on your life that is still not really abated. People are at a breaking point. And then who knows? There's so many other environmental factors. Whenever we talk about the disaster cycle that creates a shooting, that creates something, Manchurian candidacy, As the types of drugs that people are taking, the kind of media they're watching, their level of susceptibility. You know, it's not really just about magic being able to materialize a rabbit in a hat. It's about being able to influence people into being something that they lose control of their lives. And there's a quickening to it. There's a quickening aspect to it. So I see all the same things you guys have. I don't really have an answer for it, but I can assume what is contributing. So I don't know. I think the best thing would be divorce. You know, divorce and detoxification. Say, what does that mean, divorce? Are you one of them secessionists? No, I'm actually I don't know. It's not secession. It's not. It might feel like secession. First of all, how do we divorce ourselves from the media? You don't watch it? Well, okay. You don't watch it. Tens of millions do. Plugged into the internet, hundreds of millions do. There's hundreds of millions of people who just hang out on one platform or the other. So it's detoxing from media, and it is political divorce. Oh, that's the most important thing. It's so much. If all of a sudden we were disconnected and we had nothing to do with each other, from a mandatory, wage garnished kind of a situation where every time you get a paycheck, you got to pay the piper, so that everybody's special interest, every special interest in the country has its palm greased. This one has this subsidized. That one has this subsidized. Get the hell away from me. Oh, it would be so perfect. That's it. We're nuts because there's nothing you can do to leave. It's stir craziness. It's an open air prison. Okay? It just follows you. Every pay stub shows you you're in the prison. Yes, you're able to leave your house at night to get some fresh air. You can go down to the bodega and buy yourself a pack of cigarettes. That's it. You know, that can get stir crazy, that every damn thing is politicized. Every private moment is made national. It turns people around you into monsters, and you can't get away from it. And when you know the way that things were, every age had its problems. Every age has its problems. But when you know about how, when you come from an age that was, yes, imperfect, but still so much better, and you can track how things are getting worse and worse and worse, people are more and more reachable, and it goes from just dead silence to blind rage. You don't hear from anybody, or you get into some kind of a fight. It's just weird, man. It's a very strange thing to live through. That's why I know people. I know why people are snapping. Hell. And then you just have the individual factors. Everybody's living their own life, and everything is weighing on you one way or another. And then there's just baseline, free-floating anxiety about everything, that you have to live your personal life with all of your individual issues and then deal with all of the things that have been assigned to us. It's just nuts. But what a great show tonight. Especially talking with Jason, opening up about independent media. I get what's going on there. I understand the importance of big voices like, you know, Alex Jones and everything else, but there's got to be something else. That's why I wish I'm thinking about every damn way to introduce myself to more people out there, because it's not like there aren't so many people in the space now. Maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe it's part of the solution. I don't know. But everybody's got to pull their weight, and everybody's got to support independent media, because we've got bigger opportunities now than we think. And the time to act is really coming up on us, because they ain't in a good position. The buyers and the sellers that we're talking about, the auctioneers, they ain't in a good position. None of this is going over. Look at all the things that they use, all of the sales pitches that they employ for their UN pacts and this and that and the other thing, it always comes down to censorship. That there is a fear in distrust. All those world government summits, there's always going to be somebody on one kind of a panel that talks about one hurdle or another that comes down to there is waning trust in our leadership, and we need to be able to overcome this. I mean, that's it. Why don't people trust us? What can we do? And all they can think about is censorship, trying to get 2.6 extra billion people on the internet and also make sure that it is a completely controlled internet that is safe for people, so they're not coming in contact with disinformation that might upset them, or, you know, the tribunal. I don't see that as an animal that has all of its shit together. I see it as a pretty frightened animal. That is a big waste of resources and attention. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Because, yeah. But hey, you know what? Tomorrow we'll be able to talk a little bit more about another solution, shortwave radio. That'll be a little bit of that. And then I'll find some other cool things to talk about in the second half. And that'll be the last show of the week from the studio. I'm going to do a live stream from the health retreat at some point over those, over the rest of the week. And maybe I'll do some live streams from the phone and stuff like that. We'll keep in touch. But we're about to really jump off into a great time. We're talking about the autumn, the change of the season. This is a big month, and I'm going to work my ass off to make sure that you have a good time every night and that we are put in a position to win ourselves a little bit more of, win ourselves some better positioning going forward. Working my ass off, and I hope you enjoy. So I'll see you tomorrow, 7 o'clock. And let me just make sure I didn't lose anything. Thank you to all my super chatters. Thank you to the Rumble rants. And then Sean Joe says, I believe the exploding pagers. Oh, we did that. Yes, I do too. I believe the exploding pagers are a big warning sign. Warning sign and a soft disclosure about, yes, we can do this stuff. And if the exploding technology is in the right person's hands, it could be a noble bomb that goes off in a town square somewhere, all at 3:30 p.m. So have a good one. Thanks again to Jason Bermas for coming out. And just remember, I've got there's only a couple more pen pals. I only have a couple more pen pal from the slots open on Patreon and Subscribestar. That is the War Department pen pals. That's the typewritten. From now until October 1st, whoever sponsors as a pen pal, I'm going to send a whole bunch of extra stuff in that first letter. Would love to have you on, and that is going to be, that's our special for the next week and a half. No, next week. That's it. 7 days. It's all over. We'll see you soon, ladies and gents. Thanks for everything.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
A Chinaman goes to see the eye doctor. After the exam, the doctor says, I know why you're having trouble. The Chinaman says, why? Doctor says, you have a cataract. The Chinaman says, no, I have a Lincoln Continental. You don't get it?
I get it. He drives a Lincoln. What?